My name is Alex, and this is the story of how I took my life into my own hands after a betrayal that changed everything. I had worked for my father company for 10 long years, pouring my heart and soul into my job, but none of that seemed to matter when it came to my family. I remember the day it happened vividly. I was sitting in my small apartment, going over some numbers for a presentation, when I received the call from my father. His voice was calm, but I could sense a tension underneath. "Alex, we need to talk," he said. I could tell by the tone that it wasn't about a friendly chat. When I arrived at my parents' house, the atmosphere was thick with unease. I walked into the living room and saw my father sitting on the couch, his expression serious, and my mother standing nearby, arms crossed. Felt like a scene out of a drama. "Alex, we've decided to give your half-brother, Ryan, an inheritance of $10 million and company," my father announced. "We think he needs it to start his life." My heart sank. Ryan, who had barely lifted a finger in his life, was getting rewarded while I, who had worked tirelessly for a decade, was left empty-handed. "What about me?" I managed to say, my voice shaking. "I've dedicated my life to this family and this company." My father sighed, as if he was explaining something to a child. "You've always had your own path, Alex. We believe Ryan needs this money to succeed. He's going to college, and we want to give him a strong start." Couldn't believe my ears. "So what about my sacrifices? I've given everything to this family. What did I do to deserve this?" I felt the anger rise within me, hot and overwhelming. "Please try to understand," my mother chimed in, her voice soft but firm. "You have a good job, a stable life. You don't need the money as much as Ryan does." At that moment, I realized they would never see me as anything but the son who could fend for himself. The reality hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt betrayed and unwanted. I turned on my heel and left their house, a storm of emotions swirling inside me. In the following days, I took stock of my life. I had given my all to a company that had been a second home to me, yet my family had cast me aside without a second thought. It was time to make a change. I decided to leave everything behind. My job, my family, and my past. I took a risk and started my own business, pouring my energy into something that I could call my own. It wasn't easy. I faced countless challenges and failures, but with each setback, I learned more about myself and my capabilities. Slowly, my small startup began to thrive. I built a team of dedicated individuals who believed in my vision, and together we created something special. 10 years passed in what felt like a heartbeat. I had transformed my life, not just financially but in every way imaginable. I had gone from feeling like a failure to becoming a successful entrepreneur. My company flourished, and I was proud of the person I had become. Then, one sunny afternoon, I decided it was time to return home. I was nervous but ready to face the family that had once turned their backs on me. I arrived at my parents' house, and as I stood at the door, I hesitated for a moment. I had changed so much, and I wondered how they would react. Taking a deep breath, I knocked. When my mother opened the door, her eyes widened in shock. "Alex?" she gasped, looking me up and down as if she were seeing a ghost. "Hi, Mom," I said, forcing a smile despite the butterflies in my stomach. "Is that really you?" she stammered, stepping aside to let me in. I stepped over the threshold, and the familiar surroundings flooded back memories, both good and painful. My father appeared equally stunned. "Alex, we didn't expect to see you," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and something else I couldn't quite place. Was it guilt? "I've been busy," I replied, my tone steady. "I started my own business, and it's doing well." I thought it was time to catch up with family. They exchanged glances, clearly unsure how to respond. I could see the wheels turning in their minds as they processed the fact that the son they had dismissed had become a success on his own terms. We didn't know," my father finally said, his voice low. "We were worried about you." "Worried?" I echoed, feeling a surge of emotions. "You were worried about me while you handed a fortune to Ryan? I've spent the last decade proving myself to everyone, including you, and you still chose him. I see now that we made a mistake," my mother admitted, her voice shaky. "We were trying to do what we thought was best." I looked at them, feeling a mix of anger and pity. It's too late for regrets. I've built a life for myself without your help or support. I came back to show you that I don't need your approval to succeed. In that moment, I saw their shock turn into something deeper. Understanding, perhaps even respect. I had transformed from the overlooked son into a man who had taken charge of his destiny. As we talked, I shared my journey, the struggles I faced, and the lessons I learned along the way. It was a conversation that had been years in the making. They listened, absorbing the reality of my life, and I could sense a shift in the air between us. When I finally left, I felt lighter than I had in years. I had shown them that my worth was not defined by their approval. I had carved out a life for myself, and no amount of money or inheritance could ever change that. Walking away from my childhood home, I felt a sense of closure. The past no longer held power over me. I had reclaimed my identity and forged my path. And as I drove away, I couldn't help but smile. This was just the beginning of my new chapter, one filled with endless possibilities and a future that was entirely mine. As I drove away from my childhood home, a wave of emotions washed over me. Relief, anger, and a profound sense of liberation. I had confronted my past, but more importantly, I had taken a stand for myself. The air felt fresher, and the world ahead seemed full of endless possibilities. Back at my office, my team greeted me with warmth and excitement. Over the years, we had built a culture of collaboration and respect, and I couldn't wait to share my journey with them. They had been my backbone during the tough times, and I knew they'd be thrilled to hear about my visit home. Gathering everyone in the conference room, I began to share my story. As I recounted the moments of betrayal and my journey toward independence, I could see their faces light up with admiration and support. They were invested in my story, just as I was invested in their success. One of my employees, Sarah, spoke up. "Alex, your journey is inspiring. It shows us that our worth isn't defined by others. We are all capable of creating our own paths." Her words resonated deeply, igniting a sense of unity in the room. After the meeting, I felt more motivated than ever to expand our business. We had established a solid foundation, but there was potential for growth that I wanted to tap into. I spent the next few weeks strategizing, researching, and planning our next moves. Then came a breakthrough moment. A tech company approached us about a partnership, an opportunity that could elevate our brand to new heights. I was excited but knew we had to be smart about this. I gathered my team again, and together we brainstormed how we could leverage this partnership while maintaining our values and identity. As the weeks unfolded, we secured the partnership and began to implement innovative strategies that set us apart in the market. Our company thrived, and soon we were recognized as a leader in our industry. The thrill of success was exhilarating, but what I loved most was the collaborative spirit we had fostered. Then, one afternoon, I received a message that caught me off guard. It was from Ryan. I hadn't spoken to him since my parents had made their decision about the inheritance. The message was brief, asking if we could meet. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to confront him about how he'd gotten everything while I had to fight for my place, but another part of me wondered if perhaps he'd changed. Curiosity got the best of me, and I agreed to meet him at a local cafe. When I arrived, I found him waiting nervously, tapping his fingers on the table. He looked different, more mature. "Hey, Alex," he said, his voice soft. "Thanks for meeting me." I nodded, unsure of what to say. "What's going on?" He took a deep breath. "I wanted to talk about what happened with the inheritance. I know it's been a while, but I've been thinking about it a lot. I didn't ask for the money, and I know you worked hard for everything you've achieved." I raised an eyebrow, surprised by his honesty. "You didn't ask for it, but you accepted it without a second thought." "Yeah, I did," he admitted, looking down. "And I regret it. I've realized how much pressure that puts on our relationship as brothers. I should have supported you instead of letting them pit us against each other." His words struck a chord. "It was never about the money for me, Ryan. It was about recognition, about feeling valued. I felt invisible to our parents. I understand that now," he said, his voice sincere. "I want to make things right. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I'd like to rebuild our relationship. I want to support you and your business. I studied him, trying to gauge whether he was genuine. You're willing to support me? After everything? Yeah, I am, he replied. I know I have a lot to prove, but I want to be there for you, not just because we're family, but because I respect what you've accomplished. It was a bold move, and I could sense his sincerity. I decided to take a chance. All right, let's start fresh, but it'll take time. I need to see that you mean what you say. Over the next few months, we gradually built a new relationship. Ryan began coming to the office, helping me with projects, and bringing fresh ideas to the table. It was strange at first, but as we worked together, I saw glimpses of the brother I had always wanted. We shared laughs, ideas, and even challenges, and I began to feel a sense of camaraderie that had been missing. With Ryan's help, we launched a new product line that was met with overwhelming success. The partnership between our businesses flourished, and our teamwork began to attract attention in the industry. It felt rewarding to see how we could achieve so much more together than we ever could apart. Then one day, as we were celebrating a major milestone at work, my parents showed up unannounced. They looked nervous and out of place in the vibrant atmosphere of our office. I felt a mix of emotions: apprehension, curiosity, and a hint of resentment. Alex, we wanted to talk, my father said, clearing his throat. We've been thinking a lot about our choices. My mother chimed in. We regret how we handled things with you and Ryan. We want to make amends. I wasn't sure how to respond. After all the pain they had caused, could I really accept their apology? Ryan stood beside me, offering silent support. We've watched you both grow, and we realize now that we failed you as parents, my mother continued. We're proud of you, Alex, and we want to support your business, even if it's just in a small way. I felt a flicker of hope, but I knew it wouldn't be easy to forget the past. What does that mean for you? I asked cautiously. You can't just erase what happened. We know it will take time, my father said, but we want to rebuild our relationship with both of you. We want to be a part of your lives, if you'll let us. Looking at Ryan, I could see he was nervous but hopeful. I turned back to my parents, feeling a mixture of anger and hope. Let's take it one step at a time. It won't be easy, but I'm willing to try. We all deserve a chance to start fresh. As the conversation continued, I felt the weight of years of resentment beginning to lift. My parents were acknowledging their mistakes, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of possibility that perhaps we could move forward together. In that moment, I realized that life was about more than just inheritance or recognition. It was about growth, forgiveness, and the courage to start anew. With each step we took, I could feel the ties of the past loosening, making way for a future that was full of promise. As we embraced this new chapter, I understood that resilience comes not only from overcoming obstacles, but also from learning to accept the complexities of family and the power of second chances. Together, we could forge a new path, one where support and love took precedence over competition and betrayal. And that was a future I was finally ready to embrace.